Alright, so here is how I programmed my Arduino Giga Shield to do like an impossible quiz, which I'm sure you've seen on like the App Store. Fun game. So I've already set up what you kind of just need, which these are some colors I'm going to be using, so I just declared some colors for the game. And then these are the libraries coming using array list for memory sequence. And then you need these in order to do the LCD screen and then the touch interface on the shield. And then you obviously gotta create object references for it. So hopefully you know that much already. So what I'm also gonna do is I'm going to define the screen width and the height for the shield as well, since we know that to be 800 and 480. Screen height 480. So then the first thing you really do, since that's just the setup, is to go, and of course this is how I did it. It's not like, oh, this is the only way to do it. I have a million ways to do things in programming, so this is just how I've done it. So we gotta set some stuff up. I don't need that dumb comment. So if we go to serial.begin, because this will be helpful for anything that you need to debug. So since I called my display, I say .begin to start it up, and then I want to set the rotation. I like it at 1. And these, alright, so text size is right here. This doesn't exist, obviously. That is a variable that I'm going to make. So if we go up to the top here, I would say int text size, and I liked my text size to be, I'm going to use it for like centering everything, so just put in a variable, and it'd be easier to manage it with that. So while we're here, we can also declare touch X and touch Y, which will be the coordinates, obviously, that the player touches on the screen. And then we'll also do int text width and text text height. So I got width, I got height, I got the coordinates, and I'm gonna have different messages on every level, because each level is different. Hopefully you saw the video before. Constant char message, care, car, char, don't care how you pronounce it. It's probably care since it stands for character. So here is most of my setup. I do want a variable to represent the level they're at, and they start at 0 at the beginning of the game. And last touch and threshold, this will be used in a bit. Now, because we got the character width to be determined based off our text size, so if you, whenever you change it, it'll still work for you if we do it this way. And the reason I use 6, that's the width of a single character, since character and width and height, the default font is 6 by 8 pixels per character. So That is why. Then I'm gonna create a main menu button. And this will be its X coordinate. So that's a pretty good variable name. 250 divided by 2. Okay, so this is the coordinates for it. That's pretty good for now. So all we have is some basic code setup and stuff. You can run this as you please. It's just obviously if I run this, you can't see it. But I already played the video of my program working before this at the beginning of this YouTube video, so for clarification. So I recommend just make sure it's for the Giga Shield. So in our setup, we're basically done. What I am doing is I'm gonna create a load level function. So it'll, oops. So you can, of course, write an if statement or something and check if your touch detector does begin successfully or whatever. That would be a good idea, but this is just a quick tutorial, or I'm trying to make it a quick, it might be a long video. So here is the loop. It's nice and empty. We gotta go into it. So, as you might have seen on the documentation page, they tell you how to simply do some stuff. So, if you don't know this code, I recommend taking a gander off their documentation as they explain it. Great. Arduino documentation explains the shield code very lovely with examples that do work. Not everyone has good documentation, but Arduino has solid documentation. So I'm only allowing one tap at a time. So I changed it to be contacts 1 and we'll grab the millisecond, so minus that last touch. See how now it's coming into play? Hopefully now it makes sense. So we want to record the X and Y coordinates of the user. So this is where we're going to set values to those variables we had declared earlier. Gosh, okay. And then .x, and then we just do the same thing, but for y. This is what happens when you like code on 8 different keyboards all the time. So I am going to be making a switch statement to detect the level it's on. So a switch is kind of like an if statement. And if you don't know that, you could also look it up. Okay, so main menu screen. Case 0. That is the main menu screen, hence my comment. So touch anywhere on the screen, like I showed you in the demo at the beginning. Keep referencing that, because it was important. It shows you what we're making, how it works. So touch X. Now I'm not gonna code the entire thing, but I will link it in the description. But I will show you how to make like the first 2 or 3 levels, because otherwise this YouTube video would be really long. If touch X is less than the screen width, therefore if your touch Y is less than the screen height, you have validly pressed on the screen. At that point, we increment the level variable, then the function that I haven't made yet, load level, and we break. Now what we do here is hide here is where you could then do level 1. Oops, level 1. So case 1. And this one will be special, but basically we want to design our level. So you can make your functions wherever you want. I'm gonna make them all the way at the bottom. So void load level. So if level equals 1, else, right? So that message I had, we say message equals, press the green square. This will be level 1. That will be the goal for level 1. Nice and easy. Display.fill screen. Just gonna make it blue. And then display.fill rectangle. So XY with height. So pretty nice little square that is going to be green. And then of course you could do for all the levels, right? You could just, the else will always be like the main menu, and you could check for game over screen that way as well. Like you can create you could create a Boolean variable, which is what I did. So you could say bool game over equals false at the start. So then in your else statement, as long as it's not game over. But what I've set my game up to do, or my code program, is this function draws it. The switch statement in the loop function handles all the functionality with the touch screen for the user. So this is like drawing the level. It's easier to separate it, right? If you've gone over basic programming computer science courses, you know how it's important to organize your code. So simply, this is how I've done so. So I can, it's just without running it on the screen, because it's a hardware, I don't want to keep switching the camera back and forth, would be annoying. So I will link the code on my GitHub in the description. But right before then, I guess that's kind of the main parts to explain. The rest of it is just adding on to what's already here. Like I explained what I was doing with this. This will make it easier to center everything on the screen. This is straight up from Arduino's documentation. First off, all I did was modify this to be like one tap at a time, because like their documentation lets you do many taps simultaneously, but that's not what I need for this impossible quiz. And then this basically how you can check between anything. So this is the whole screen itself. If you wanted the coordinate system for level 1, right? Because we didn't check that, which would be in the code also, because I have, what is this? This is, I have like 339 lines of code. And then for the main menu screen, you can also have a default case. So you can display your main menu here, and that's when you would always want to set your level back to 0. You'd want to call load level, so we can keep regenerating what needs to be drawn on the screen correctly. can enclose them in brackets if it makes you happy. And then you'd want game over to be false here. This, you'd want to wrap this all in like an if statement. This is not properly indented. There we go. Max left and right clicking will be the end of me. Okay, so if level is greater than 0 and check touch, which is another function I made, 425, 250, 100, 0, right? So I also made a function to make my code a little cleaned up. So you can just enter X, Y with height, and if there's a potential radius, because sometimes maybe you've drawn a circle or something, like you've seen on one of my levels, you have to tap shapes in a certain sequence, which is why I use that array list. It's not like array list was like necessarily the best data structure option, it's just what I happen to use. So, int X, int Y, int width, int height, and then int radius. I just kind of set it to be 0. So if the radius is greater than 0, you've changed it first off, which would be circle detection. And then rectangle. Oh, I spelled rectangle wrong. Oops. No, not Siri. Not Siri. Siri is right above that delete button. And it's like touch enabled. Rectangle detection. So here is where you can detect for a circle based on this math. And that's what I've done. So you enter the coordinates and then it'll return what you need. So for example, touch underscore x minus x, multiply that, touch x minus x plus touch y minus y and then greater than or equal to and then you probably get that's for circle, so then it's easier for rectangle, but you just need to use width and height. This is a pretty cool system. Basically, as you touch it, it detects what level, so if it's on level 1, it has drawn what it needs, especially since the start of the game it starts, and every time you interact with a certain level, it'll generate yes or no. Then if it's game over, it'll generate your game over screen, which will be also drawn based on the load level function as well. So you literally can just display colors, draw shapes, images, etc. It's a pretty neat way to kind of program the shield if you are new to the shield and you want to start understanding how to do it. It's a nice, simple. It's not no animations, no fancy frameworks, you know, no advanced LVGLs or anything like that. The fun library, but yep. So it wasn't a full guide, but the code is linked in the description. This was more like a reference to supplement it, since it's kind of a large piece of code, and no one likes super long YouTube videos, and this is already 20 minutes. See you guys.